Okay, Chris, I'm recording. You can go ahead and unmute and get started.
Hi, this training session today is for the unit tracker setup. Today I will be explaining on how to create one, how to read it, and how PCs and PEs should use it daily. So first of all, unit tracker. What is it? We use it to track the number of units to build per release. It shows how many units that are new and how many have been used on a previous release. Um, what it will not tell us is how complex the units are. It will not tell you if it takes 5 minutes versus 6 hours. Um, we can use it to estimate where in the schedule we would need more or less resources or ask for more time. You would make that judgment by looking at the shop drawings and the key sheets. So first of all, there are prerequisites to running the unit tracker. One is the takeoff program must be pointing to the database for the job. Number two, project must be palletized and assigned to releases. If that's not the case, stop and ask Saul or Quinton for the status. And since we're working remote, you must be connected to VPN. So to start a unit tracker, you navigate to the S drive, office templates, go to www templates, um, and this, and then you open up the unit tracker sheet, and this comes up. Um, there's a button on the top left. You just press import data, and this window appears, and you press update. So I'm using One West Side as my example. Um, on the left box, it would what you want to track is on the left. What you want to remove is on the right. So I'm gonna remove all units and I can adjust the release order. Once that's finished, I just press OK. It's gonna take a little bit, especially since we're working remote. It has to go look at the server in Fremont to see the status of all the units. So it's gonna take a little bit. Uh,
So, Chris, do you have to do anything in Revit first before you start this process?
so the first part is to ask if the job has been palletized. So they have to do their palletize on Revit or on Nebula before you can start this. It'll give you an error if it's not palletized.
Okay.
So here's One West Side. It's a job that was completed recently, and so from here, there's two portions of this spreadsheet. This top half is mainly for PCs, and the bottom half is mainly for the PEs. So the top half tells the first row here gives us the how many units that we have to make for that week, including any duplicate units. We'll talk about duplicate units in a little bit. Shop unit count is how many units the shop has to make. Um, that is the same number as if you filter for your release. So units week 2 is 96, and on units week 2 is also 96. You can double check before your final release between this number and the number on your takeoff program. Um, row 3 is how many units we have to make. It's very similar to the office count minus the duplicates, and completed units is just how many, if the status is set to finished or ready for checking. So that's the upper half. The lower half just gives you a visual representation of all the units that are required for that week. You can see, you know, it's like an upside down bar graph. You can see which weeks are has a lot of units and which one are has a smaller count. If you think that, you know, we use this for telling, hey, we need more time for weeks 1 and 2, we might be able to make it up in in a couple weeks. It's a way for us to help schedule, see if we need more time or more resources or less, depending on how many units there are. And as you're working on the releases, you have a better idea of how complicated the project is. And so, even though there might seem to be a lot of units in the middle of the project, you can decide, say, oh, these are easy one light opening units. It's not going to be a big deal, even though there's a lot, or you know, the opposite. Um, so for the duplicate units, they are shown in the red text. What this means is it happened on a previous release. So unit 56 happened on week 2. There's no need to build it. Same thing for these future weeks. So you really only have to build the ones in the. It's green right now because it's all finished. But normally it would be more like this. This is Lumen. Um, we have some that we started, but none that's complete. Um, so to use this unit tracker for the PCs, you would copy every time you work on a unit. You would want to change your status. You can see the status here. So as you change your status, this writes it to the server, and every time someone changes, when you press update, it'll change the color on your on the unit. So if you are always keeping it up to date, you're changing your status as you work on it. If you're working with other people, they can also see the status of that unit. It's like, oh, okay, I don't need to work on that unit because somebody else is on it. Um, and it will update the counts up on the top accordingly. Right? And at the end of the day, as you do your daily log, if you're changing your statuses, you copy the upper half and you would stick it in at the bottom of your daily log. So like that. This way, your PCs and Pete can see how much, how many units are complete, how far along you are every day. And if you need more time, maybe they can schedule it or add more resources. For the PCs, I think the only row that you look at is this row 3. You might have seen it on the emails that you get on Friday, the weekly plan report. If it's a unitized job, you'll have a count of all the units per release. And this doesn't change unless there's a palette change. And the other part of this unit tracker is the print duplicate units. Um, so what the print duplicate units does is, say you're working on week 14 and there's one duplicate unit in there and you want to print it out for checking, because even though it's a duplicate, you want to make sure that that unit actually fits in the correct opening in the building. So for week 14, I would pick scroll down, week 14, and then print. First thing it asks for is the location of your shop drawings. So I'll pick this. And what it does is it makes a folder. It looks for the folder for you, and based on the release, it'll name it, and then it'll add another folder underneath called duplicates with the number of duplicate units in parentheses. In the background, it's running the fab tickets out. It'll run out the fab tickets. It'll plot the tickets. It'll plot the unit drawings, and then move the shop drawings and the sheet files to that duplicates folder. And then it'll add links to the PDFs. So it's fully automated. You don't have to do anything. You just have to tell where the shop drawings are. So when you do the duplicates, so we just finished. So if I open this in the parts are, they're all linked. It's not like the current process where you have to manually select a bunch of things. Um, and that's pretty much it for the unit tracker.
So, Chris, just looking at how you developed the duplicate units process, that's percolating some ideas, especially since you mentioned that when you print units by week, you have to go through these series of steps to get them to link and all of that. I wonder if we could produce a similar feature to just print, like select which units you want to print for checking for that particular week, and then run it through a similar automation as what you built for printing the duplicate units.
Yeah, I mean, All you have, what I did, the only reason we can't automate the current process is we have to, it's asking for inputs in the middle of your process. But if you move all those inputs to the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
you ask for everything up front, you can automate the rest of it. So for printing out the duplicate units, the only thing that I noticed was it would ask for the shop drawings, because that's not, that's off the Bluebeam server, and we can't, pull that from somewhere that's on either your local drive or on the server.
Mm-hmm.
But everything else, like the name of the directory, is, if we standardize that, it can be automated. The name of the duplicate folder was just called duplicates. It has the counts of how many duplicate units there are, so it doesn't have to ask for it. It knows where to put everything and what it needs to do. So, I mean, if there's like a form that you just put in, I want these units to print, you can feed that to some macro and then do the same thing that you do for duplicate units. And I can see this happening for a final release. The
Mm-hmm.
final release is exactly the same thing as a duplicate unit, except for the addition of doing optimizations and the shop work orders at the end. But I mean, all of those is is possible. Um, the main reason why I made the unit tracker was that in the beginning, I think it was in LEX, they kept asking for how long is it, like, how long will it take to do these units? It's mainly for planning. It's we haven't been able to categorize the type of units and see how long it would take, but it really helps for helping to ask for resources
Mm-hmm.
if you're gonna need it in a month or like 6 weeks down the line, or in the middle of the project, they're all duplicate units and you're not gonna have anything to do for like 2 months, that sort of thing.
Yeah, Chris, this is one of my favorite tools that had come out in a long time. There would always be the question, we need to get a release out in a week. How long is this one going to take? And for so long, we didn't know because, we could go find the units via the pallet schedule, but we didn't have a great visual for it. And we didn't know if there was 22 units or if there was 85. And this gives us such a quick at a glance that even before we've really got started on fab, we can tell. And we put that on the weekly plan report too. If you guys haven't been paying attention to that part, on the left side of the weekly plan where it lists the job, right underneath it, as soon as this has been created, we go back in and put the unit counts on all of those so that we know, so that we can make sure that we're accounting for that during our planning too. So this has been such a great tool. So thanks.
There's another sheet, and the second sheet is called unit totals by week. Our couple of years ago, our unit drawings used to have the counts in them, but we removed it. It was causing confusion. So I added it back into the unit tracker, so I can just check how many, how many units are in which week. Um, you can also check using Bluebeam, just looking for that unit number. But I'll look here in case it's not listed or it's hard to read. So if anybody else doesn't have any questions, thanks for doing it.
Questions for Chris? Comments? So Chris, I agree with Chris, is that this is a very useful tool. And I think it's not only well suited for keeping track of what's coming up, but also being able to tell at a glance what's happening within the week. And the PCs actually do use that bottom portion as well to be able to kind of look through. Sometimes we'll use that to help analyze which units we want to prioritize on which to build in which order. So we'll use this for a lot of purposes in addition to that top half. So very beneficial tool.
Yeah. Also, as a PE, not only should you look at, compare your shop unit count to the takeoff program, you can see if there's any units that has the wrong status or, hasn't been worked on, that sort of thing.
All right. Any additional notes or questions, commentary for Chris? All right. Well, let's everybody unmute and give him a big round of applause. Thank you very much, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Nice job.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks.